7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
What is up, everybody? Welcome back to another interview series with Josh Bravin. I am your host, Spiker Helms, and I'm excited about this because we actually did this a week before, and my stuff was not working, and it completely crapped out on me. So we're recording this again. So if you saw the Cody Gordon interview, Cody is our Las Vegas director, and Josh is one of his coaches at the 16U level. And so I wanted to bring Josh on because, like I said in the interview series with Cody, that I was thoroughly impressed with how the dugout was ran, how the energy was flowing through that dugout with a group of guys that didn't know anything about anyone. And we had these little pockets of people, and we're trying to mold these people together just to go win a 4-game tournament and try to extend into bracket play. And one of those catalyst guys in the coaching staff was Coach Bravin. And so what I want to do is I want to go down this route of I want to talk about human culture, human interaction, culture, team chemistry, and I also want to go down the recruiting route because Josh also is big on the recruiting scene. He does this on an everyday basis. So I do want to get his take on it. We're not going to talk about the recruiting process in the preliminary steps and working towards the college, but we're going to talk about the steps that are during negotiations, how you should actually talk to the coach, how the communication should work. And I have different scenarios that we're going to tackle on. But before we jump into that, I want Josh to give us his origin story, tell people a little bit more about himself, and really explain his why behind him being with the Tigers. So Josh, hit it off. Go ahead.
Sweet, yeah. So what's going on, Spiker? My name's Josh Bravin from Las Vegas, Nevada. I played junior college baseball out of Ventura College. I transferred to Palomar College in San Diego, California. Ended up going Division I to Eastern Michigan and then finished up at Dixie State. I graduated an exercise science degree with the idea I was going to pursue physical therapy. Came back home to Las Vegas and actually found myself a coaching gig at 13U. So while I was getting my PT hours, I was doing that. I really found a love for trying to help these guys out and trying to help them get to the next stages in their career. At that point, after my 13U season, Cody made the jump over to the Rawlings, and he approached me and asked me what I thought about it. And, I kind of took a look at your guys' stuff, and I absolutely loved it. The VIP profiles you guys provide, everything that you guys have from a player standpoint as far as videos, communication, I absolutely loved it. And I thought, there's no better way for me to continue to coach the group that I'm with and help them progress if it's not with you guys. I felt like that was the best opportunity. And now 2 years later doing 16U with an extremely successful group, I have to say it was one of the best decisions I've ever made.
So we went down the national route, right? And you came into, and this is what I love about you, is that you always have that smile that you're smiling right now. And you brought an energy. And I don't know if people saw the Instagram video of you going up to Cordis right before it was technically an elimination game. Like we had to win that game to actually have a running at it. And you went up to him and were like, hey, what's the game plan? He goes, throw strikes. He's like, pound the zone, baby. And then that was the video. And it got him focused in. And when I followed you around with the camera, I noticed that you were doing that with everybody. You were trying to get them all on the same page. You're having individual meetings. Do you do that by design? Do you do that by plan? Or is that just naturally who you are?
Yeah, I think you got to kind of evaluate each player and find out what they react to well. And usually a lot of guys are tense in that type of situation, especially with the national team. So you got to kind of loosen them up. You got to let them know everything's going to be okay. You're here for a reason. So with Cortez, I kind of went up to him and just said, I tried to simplify. I didn't want him thinking too much. And he said he was going to throw strikes. And the first thing that came out of my mouth was pound the zone. That's the simplest thing I could come up with without making him overthink any of his pitches. And Same thing with the other guys. I walk up, I try to loosen them up. I know Brozier was walking around and I kind of grabbed him on the shoulders a couple of times, massaged him out and told him to loosen up. And,
Yeah.
that's the kind of philosophy is I'm gonna be the energy guy. I'm gonna yell a little bit. I'm gonna get on you, but at the same time, I'm also gonna come over to you and calm you down and let you know everything's gonna be okay. It's gonna be fun out there.
Now, is it different when you're a head coach versus an assistant coach? Like, do you have a different perspective on that? Or is that just what you do? That's just your coaching style and your coaching philosophy?
I mean, that's kind of my coaching style and philosophy, anyways. I would say being out with the national team and having Cody as the head guy takes a lot of stress off of me as far as game management and game decisions. So it's easier for me to kind of evaluate the dugout, see what's going on, see who's down or up, and kind of play off of their energy and help them out a little more.
Does does that approach go with your team as well? So do you have your assistant coaches go out and make sure like, oh, hey, check this guy out. He's having a rough day today. Go talk to him. Or is that you just put it all on your shoulders and you go do those things?
I mean, I still do a lot of that with my team because I know my guys very well. But yeah, I mean, I do have a couple assistant coaches, my dad being one of them that helps out every day. And, we kind of have the same philosophies as far as how we like to approach the game and what we like to say. So it's actually funny that anything that ever comes out of my mouth comes out of his mouth, even if it's at a different time in the game.
Yeah.
So I trust that anything that I would go say to a player, if I tell him, hey, you need to go talk to this kid because of this, he's going to say exactly what I would say anyways. So it does take a little bit of a burden off of my shoulders. And that's the good thing about just having a good assistant coach in general. You usually pick your assistant coach and you pick someone that you trust. And usually it's someone that has the same philosophies and views as you. So you trust them to kind of handle the situation just like you would.
I didn't get a chance to see you in a training setting. I get some type of view when we have pregame because you can see like the different philosophies. As you know, the first day we were trying to figure out, okay, what's our routine? What do we do before a game? And that was something that I was discussing with Dave and Jaws after the whole event. And one thing that you did was you went straight into stretching, and then you did your routine. Then obviously you're working off of Tom and Tim and Cody. But how do you coach specifically you? How do you coach between training sessions versus a game setting? Because those are two totally different things. Like game, you're competing, but then in training, you're trying to demand something off of somebody and trying to get them pushed into a different direction. So, do you approach training differently than a game?
Yeah, I would say with the training side of it, I'm a little more hands-on. So obviously, a lot of us that coach, we played college baseball or we played high school, whatever it may be, and we kind of know how things are supposed to look. Luckily, I'm young right now. I'm only 26, so I can kind of still move around the same way I used to. So I go with a hands-on approach, and I'll kind of demonstrate more of this stuff. Um, I definitely do yell. I'm a little bit of a yeller, unfortunately, but I will go through when we're in practice or whatever else, and I'll take some reps myself and show them, if I can do it at 26 years old, you should be able to do it at 15, 16 years old, the exact same way, if not better, considering you should be a little more athletic than I am. So I go with a little more of a hands-on approach. I try to demonstrate as much as I can, and I try to explain because my thing is visual is a lot easier to learn than it is auditory. And so I make kids, when I'm teaching them things, I make them demonstrate the wrong and the right so that they can understand what it feels like on both sides of it and they can make adjustment themselves. Because I know playing, I was not as good of an auditory learner. Thinking back nowadays, all the things I've learned coaching as far as pitching, hitting, I remember my coaches telling me to do that type of stuff, but I didn't understand. And so I kind of understand with our guys now, whether they're 8 years old or 15, they don't understand at the same level that we do on what we want done. So you got to show them a little bit more and kind of help them understand what you want out of them.
There's a lot to say about that too, because so many coaches are so worried about, oh, make sure that you're doing it the right way. Make sure that the philosophy and the thoughts are all in a line. Like, yeah, I get it. Like, you don't want to contradict each other, right? But at the same time, if you don't give information and show the right way versus the wrong way, or have different viewpoints on certain things, that's why I like this interview series. That's why I like doing podcasts, because I'll bring on people that I don't agree with some of the things that they say, but I agree with a lot of the things they say. But then there's some things I'm like, I don't know about that. And I could be totally wrong. That's like confirmation bias, right?
Yeah.
But it's the same thing with coaching when you're trying to teach somebody that feel action. If they know how it feels the wrong way, they're going to be able to make that correction a lot faster. We're so worried that like the clay pot's going to break if we mold it the wrong way and then we heat it up and then it breaks. Like they're pretty durable. They're pretty resilient. You know what I'm saying?
Especially my guys. I yell at them a lot, so they're very resilient at this point.
And that's another thing is like the yelling feature. Like again, I yell sometimes. I pick and choose my battles with my guys when I do coach. But I think there's a thing for that because they've got to hear that bad side a little bit. They got to get that evil energy out, that dark energy a little bit. But then you're able to bring back that light energy, that happy energy. Because one of the things that you said that I love was feed off my energy, guys. Feed off of what I'm doing right now, and I think that's perfect from an assistant coaching role, but also from a head coaching role. Because then if you have that assistant coach that kind of levels everything out, it really feeds really well with the team.
Yeah, and my energy may just be competitiveness. It may be me getting mad at them and yelling, whatever it may be, but they all know on the other side of things I'm their best friend off the field. I follow them all on Instagram. I talk to them. They send me videos. I critique them when I'm sitting at home laying in bed. So feed off my energy. It may just be the competitive factor. I know we see the Kobe back here.
Yeah.
Mentality, and that's kind of the most important thing to me is you have to have that mentality that you want to be the best, or it's going to be very tough to succeed if you're lackadaisical. So I'm going to provide the energy for them in the dugout. If you guys can have the same kind of competitiveness and want to win as bad as I do, then we're going to have a lot of success.
Have you ever seen the movie Whiplash?
I haven't.
So Whiplash, I think it's called Whiplash. If not, I'll confirm it and write it in the notes. But it's about this drummer who wants to be the best drummer in the world. Like that's his goal. He wants to be number one. And then he gets this teacher that is overbearing to a certain extent where he yells, he ridicules, and everything like that. That's the extreme side of things. So if you ever watch Whiplash, understand that when we talk about yelling, it's not to that degree where you're going down on someone's throat and you're just berating them every single bit. Because I've had those coaches. Those coaches are not fun and they do not help you one bit. But when you have that coach that you can tell, like that has that long-term thing, like you're saying, which is I Instagram them, I DM them, they send me videos of their swing and then or their throwing motion, and I help critique them or give them ideas and thoughts. That's the coach you want, because then when they do yell, it's not a yell of I hate you. It's a yell of I'm concerned about you.
Yep.
I want to talk about the parent side of things because it's a huge part of the relationship when it comes to a team. How do you create that synergy between the coach, the player, and the parent? Because a lot of coaches, what they'll do is they'll just do coach and player, right?
Yeah.
I don't want to talk to the parents. We're just doing coach and player. How do you bring in that synergy and you bring in the parent side of things?
So I'd say this is kind of my strong suit, but also my downfall. I get along very well with all my parents, and I'm an open book with them. I tell them they can call me at any time of the day, which may be my problem because I get calls at 10:30, 11:30, 12 a.m. But I talk to my parents a lot, and I let them know what's going on at the field. I communicate with them if they have any questions based on their kid or what they should be doing. I tell them to text me at any time during the day, and I'll get back to them. I feel like over the past couple of years, I've been blessed with some really good parents, especially players too, but some really good parents that are understanding and trust me. So if they ever come to me for advice, they're going to relay that advice to their kid, and they trust everything that I say and the way that I approach their kid's career. So I've been very blessed that, I am an open book. I allow my parents to contact me at all times, and they feel comfortable contacting me and comfortable with the information I'm going to give them, which makes it a lot easier on me. I don't really have too many problems at all with parents acting up or yelling at me, anything like that, because they're all trusting. And I think that came from me allowing them to contact me at any point and give them advice whenever.
Yeah, I really subscribe to that thought process too. I do say I don't like the thought of like we just need to literally let the parents go out and be off on their own. I think at some point we have to be that way. Like when you start getting into the very older age, because at college you're not going to be able to do that. So I think it's kind of slowly working from the youth model and kind of slowly working to where, yeah, you can contact me. I'll definitely give you an answer, but if you want to go out for dinner or something like that's something that it starting to draw the line a little bit, right? As
Yep.
you get older down the line. But I do like the thought process of if you have a problem or you need a question answered, or we're on the same team here. We're trying to get to the same goal. Contact me. Let me know. If you need to call me at 10, great. If you need to call me at 3 p.m., great. We just got to figure this thing out because the biggest thing is we got to help Jimmy or Stan or whoever and get them into the goal that they want to get to. And if that's college baseball, great. If that's them just having good life lessons and being able to be strong after baseball, perfect.
That's a good point too. I may have to start setting some boundaries because right now I'm open 24/7 and answer calls no matter what
Hey,
I'm
if
doing.
you don't draw that line, like, all right, my phone is done at 11 p.m. I'm not contacting you. My wife will get so sometimes she doesn't get mad. She just gets frustrated at times where like I'll be texting a parent at 9 p.m. and just making sure that things were smoothed over in training so they're on the same page. And she's like, put the phone down. You can answer them in the morning. So I was in the same boat as you when I was in my mid and late 20s was I was constantly on my phone, and now it's good because she kind of levels me out a little bit. But I do like that thought process. I think it's something that a lot of coaches being able to be open and open up your time frame so that you're able to help the players because sometimes coaches they go against that and they're like, nope, I'm off duty. I'm not talking to you anymore. We're done. I don't like that idea. I think you got to find that middle ground that works into your lifestyle.
Exactly.
I want to talk about recruiting, but
Okay.
before we talk about recruiting, we had a really interesting conversation. It was right before a game, and we talked about bad eggs and like guys that were good people, but they might have had a bad name associated with them at a certain point, right? And you talked
Yeah.
about different circumstances, right? So I I liked what your idea behind this and how you thought about it, and I want you to really explain it. What do you do with a player that could be a potential cancer or a potential bad egg? Because you see the example, New England Patriots brought in Randy Moss when Randy Moss had a really bad name to himself. And then you saw the Buccaneers bring in Antonio Brown.
Mhm.
And now he doesn't talk as much and he's literally a team player and now they're in the Super Bowl. How do you deal with that guy that has a bad name or is struggling with trying to make his name clear?
You got to get a Tom Brady on your team that levels them out.
Yeah, that's true.
But no, I think you really got to figure out what's causing this. Why do they act like this? And is it in bad nature? Is it in good nature? And what I've come across is usually the bad eggs that I have, they're not really bad eggs. They're competitive guys. They want to win. They get frustrated with failure and they get frustrated with losing, and they want their teammates to be better because they know their teammates are better and maybe they're not giving it all. So you got to kind of break it down and find out what's driving them. And in the cases that I've had, it's competitiveness. And you hear other coaches say, well, this kid's uncoachable, this and that. All the kids that I run across, I mean, I develop personal relationships with them. I feel like if they can trust me, then they'll listen to what I have to say and they'll improve their attitude on the field. And the last situation that I had, yeah, I mean, I had a kid that came in that didn't have the best name, but he was one of the most competitive kids I've ever seen on the baseball field. And so forming a personal relationship with him and letting him know that I have his back no matter what, and I'm going to fight for him allows him to kind of take the weight off of his shoulders and sit back and say, Well, now I have somebody that's in my corner. I have somebody that's willing to help me out, and maybe I should listen. And I haven't really dealt with bad eggs for too long because usually my bad eggs even out after a few weeks. But like I said, it's developing a personal relationship. It's them trusting what you have to say and understanding that you're trying to help them at all times. And when you tell them they need to control their energy, when they need to focus it in the right ways, not open their mouth at the wrong time, because some kids just want to be a funny guy. You may think that they're disrespectful, but really they're just trying to be funny. And yeah, it does come off disrespectful because you're the coach. They're supposed to be listening to you, but they don't mean it in a FU type of way. They just mean it in a I'm locked in. I do want to learn, but I do want to bring some fun to baseball. And that's when you got to kind of let them know there's a time and a place for that. Probably not when I'm talking, but maybe when you're on the field and you make a good play, yeah, let out that energy. Let everybody know that you just made a Sports Center top 10 play. Let everybody know you just hit a home run. Fernando Tatis, actually, I just saw some videos the other day. He's the new cover athlete for MLB The Show. And the main story behind the video is that he's changing the game. And in that video, he says, I'm breaking some unwritten rules. Supposedly, I'm doing all these things wrong. I'm just playing the game. That's how I was brought up to play it. I was brought up to play it with fire and energy because if I'm lackadaisical, things aren't going to go my way. Baseball is a game of failure. If you can't be up and joyous and love the highs, then you're not going to be successful because there are so many lows in baseball. You have to be able to enjoy the highs if you're not able to enjoy the lows.
And I would say that the insecurities of that person too, because usually the bad egg has a lot of insecurities that are underlining, right?
Yeah.
And when they do lash out and they want to be the funny guy, one, they want attention. That's like the surface area. But more importantly, what I've noticed is that they want to be loved. They want to be loved by their teammates, and they don't realize when they do make that funny comment, they're actually burning a bridge with the coach. And then the coach, if he's not well versed, he ends up taking it the wrong way, and then you start causing this big pile of I would say just a cycle of just crap that's about to hit the fan, right? And when you're able to recognize that, not take offense to it, because again, the team feeds off of your energy. I love that quote that you say. If team feeds off the energy, and that could be like my energy. My energy is not to your energy. Your energy is like super, super passionate, and you're like fired, ready to go, right? I'm more down here. I talk very softly at times, and I'll speak very hard. Dave's the other way. So Dave was a guy that is he's more of a relationship. He goes one to one. He says, "Hey, how are you doing? What's going on?" And he rarely yells. I think it's fine for a coach. It's finding that energy that works for you and being able to project that out to the team because they're going to end up taking that energy no matter if you are conscious of it or if you're unconscious of it. And I saw that with the national team. That's what's so great about it. I didn't have to coach. I got to see how everything laid out, and you could tell that the team was more going in the line of what you and Cody and Tim and Tom were trying to really relay, and those different personalities came in. I wish we had like 2 weeks or 3 weeks because then it would have been a totally different story. But again, that's like dream. That's a dream. That's a dream scenario because you're dealing with economics. Yeah,
For
you dream of economics. Yeah, let's just get an Airbnb and be down there for the whole time, right?
Yeah.
All right, I want to go down recruiting, and for everyone that doesn't, we said it in the beginning of the interview that you are doing recruiting full time for players,
Yeah.
and you're helping. Are you helping across different sports, or is it just baseball?
No, so I work for College Athlete Advantage. We focus on baseball players. We have an incredible platform, but we have guys in Hawaii, Texas, California, Arizona, North Carolina, and I'm forgetting one other state.
And these are guys that help athletes. That's what
Yeah,
you're saying. Are you saying?
these are
Okay.
all baseball guys. They're Royal Scouts, former Diamondback Scouts, Oklahoma State guy, Texas Tech guy, just baseball guys.
I don't want to go down the pre-recruiting. I feel like there's a ton of information out there right now, and we've done a lot of it. But no one really talks about what happens during you do get the attention of the pretty girl, the scout, and on the negotiation side of things, and how that interaction should work, because a lot of players, this is their one shot, right? I did a podcast episode of it. You only got 4 years, and if you do it early, you got 5 years, 6 years, and then if you go junior college, you got another 2, right? So the time frame is a short window, and a lot of players think like, this is my only shot, this is only I can do, and so they don't have that interaction, that experience. So I want to mesh that and kind of go through some scenarios. I want your initial reaction to these scenarios and how you would advise the student athlete.
Okay.
Scenario 1, coach texts me for the first time. We have small talk, but it's been dead silent for the past week. I'm nervous that he lost interest. What should I do?
Immediately reach back out to them. If they were contacting you before, they were probably interested. Ask them what they're looking for. Ask them if you're a 2023 shortstop, be direct. Ask them if they need a 2023 shortstop. Ask them if they think that you're somebody that could fit well in their program and that they're looking for. And if they want you, they'll get back to you. That's the biggest thing with it is if you reach out to a coach and you're direct with them, whether they get back to you within a day or 2 days or a week, if they're interested, they will get back to you. And they'll usually be pretty honest with you if you ask them direct questions.
I also think that a lot of players don't realize how busy college coaches are and the time frame. Like, think about just how our days go. It's fast paced. We're constantly talking. You're talking all the way to the parents late at night, and you're talking to players, right? So it's the same thing with colleges, but they have an admin side that they have to deal with. They have their assistant coaches. They have their current team. They have the recruits that they're trying to land. And then they also have their family. So I think it's a matter of just taking a perspective like, hey, these guys are busy. I just gotta reach back out and really nail it down. Like, hey, are you really interested in me, or are you not interested in me?
Exactly.
Scenario number 2. Coach called me once and we had a great conversation. I haven't heard anything from him since. I sent him a text a week ago and he said, would you call me back? It's been over a month since our first conversation. What should I do?
So you're kind of playing me into what you just said is life happens, you know? People have families, they have jobs, whatever it may be, they have other people to take care of. So just because they haven't gotten back to you doesn't mean that they're not interested. Something may have happened. They may have read your email and meant to reply and forgot. They may have typed something out and forgot to hit send. So once again, reach back out to them, try to ask them what their interest level is, see what they need right now, and send them some video. Right now, the biggest thing that you can do as a high school athlete trying to get to a college is to send video. There's no recruiting budgets right now. It's tough for people to get out to see you, especially with COVID, restrictions on quarantines in certain states. You have to send video. Let them know you're there. Provide them with something on their desktop that they can watch other than just words, and see if they get back to you. And once again, if they do like you, if they see something in you, they're going to get back to you.
At what point do you think it's like a lost cause where you're like, I should just kind of let this one go? I'm not going to contact this guy.
I would say never, to be honest. Always continue to reach out because you never know when something's going to change, when a player's going to decommit. But obviously, in your head, know if you don't get a response after 2 or 3 times reaching out, things probably aren't going to go your way. But it's not to say that life doesn't happen and someone doesn't decommit or they lose a couple players due to transfer, whatever it may be, and you send them another email 2 or 3 months out, and that's the email that they actually respond to because something just happened and now they need you.
Would you say that this would be a correct statement? Don't be emotionally attached to a school?
Yeah, 100%. Don't be emotionally attached to a level or a school, because when you think you are at a certain level or you want to go to a certain place, you tend to think of other places lesser. And you need to understand that a different place that you may not be thinking of right now may be the best way for you to succeed and get to the next level, as well as get your academics or get playing time, whatever it may be.
Scenario three. Coach A offered me 30% and Coach B offered me 50%. I love Coach A and his program, but I need more money. How do I say I need more money without being pushy or overbearing? How do I approach the initial communication? Because this is awkward.
Yeah. So first evaluate 30% at school A versus 50% at school B with tuition costs. Evaluate what the actual cost you're going to be paying is, because school A may be less expensive. Second, most families have a budget on what they can spend in college without taking out student loans, whatever they're comfortable with. So approach that coach, let them know that you're very interested in this school. You would really love to make things work, but your family does have a budget of whatever amount it may be. And if they're offering you 15,000, it's a $35,000 school, and your budget per year is 14,000. Let them know, we're about 6,000 below my budget right now. Is there any way that we can kind of get to that? Are there any scholarships I can apply for? Is there anything else I can do to get that 6,000 so that I can make it work at your school?
I think that's key, is really being crafty with your words on that conversation and being completely honest. Like, hey, my budget's just not there. Like, I really like your school. Like, I have this and this, and and I want to choose you guys, but right now I don't have that in my budget, and I've got to figure this thing out. Like, how do we do it?
The
And
easiest answer is probably get your grades up a little more than they are. If you're at a 3.5, get to a 3.75 or 3.85, and there is a scholarship for you that you may not have seen before.
yeah, and college coaches will get more creative when you say, how do we make this happen? How do we get this going? Because if you say me, I feel like from the other side of the table, it sounds like you're being greedy and it sounds like you're being a little selfish on it, right? But that
Yeah.
might not be the case. So just be cautious of, like what Josh said, be cautious of making sure you're using your words correctly. Scenario four. I reached out to a coach and he responded with a camp flyer. It seemed generic. Are they really interested? What I'm getting at here is that a lot of guys send out emails and then they get the generic flyer and they're like, oh my God, Miami wants to see me. They want me to come down to the camp. Again, I love that excitement, but again, there's a lot of things going underlying there. What would be your response on this?
So let's take a step back. First, I'd say it's very important to have somebody in your corner, to have a service or a trusted individual that knows some people and that can contact somebody for you, because it's hard for a coach, especially if they're emailing a freshman or a sophomore, and all they can really do with freshmen is send them the questionnaire and a camp invite. And so when you have someone in your corner like us at CA or whatever, we reach out to those coaches for you. We don't put that on you. And we ask them, and you could do this yourself as well, ask them directly, like we talked about in question one. Do you need my position in my year? Am I someone that you could see fitting into your organization or your university, your program? And find that out before you go out there, because there are some camps that are moneymaker camps for the universities that they can supply their baseball team with uniforms, with gear, whatever it may be. And the coaches don't usually hold that back too much. If you ask them directly whether they need you in your position or if they've already got some guys, they'll let you know, oh, we already have two 2023 shortstops coming in, or we have a 2022 and a 2024. So we're not really looking for a 2023 shortstop. And that'll eliminate a lot of costs for you and a lot of time spent on, receiving that email from Miami, but they probably have 15, 20 guys on their radar for every class right now.
That's an important point, is having someone in your corner, and growing your network, because you can't, again, I've told my story, my recruiting story, and you don't want your parent to be the person that is your main contact that reaches out to the college coaches and says, "Hey, is there any opportunity here?" It doesn't look good. But if you have people in your corner, like your coach, someone that's very recognized in the recruiting space, or someone like Josh, it definitely helps without a doubt. Wouldn't you say?
Yeah, 100%. It just, especially when you have a lot of connections or you have a name behind you, like you said, coaches are going to shoot you straight because they know that if they don't shoot you straight, you're going to let somebody else know that. And you don't want anything bad about a school or a coach or anything going around because the baseball community is very small. And so that's why usually you will get a direct response from them on whether or not they do need you out there. Or also, you need to evaluate, we talked about this before, you need to evaluate what you're going out there for. If you're going out to a college camp like a Miami camp or an Old Dominion or whatever it may be, Eastern Michigan, you need to understand that, yeah, you may get noticed at that camp. They may contact you afterwards, but you're going because they're putting on a camp with their expertise and you're going to get the coaching from them and learn from them. You're not going to earn a scholarship that weekend. You might, but that's not what you should be going out there for.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't realize that the supply of players is a lot more aggressive than the supply of colleges. Not many people know that. I think it's like 200 or 300 Division I schools that have baseball programs. Is that correct?
Yeah, it's somewhere in that.
It's that somewhere in that range. So if you think about it, you only got these amount of colleges and institutions that have programs, and then you have this vast group of players that are all across the United States that are trying to get into these schools because they want to be the top 7% of baseball players and play college baseball. That is a monumental task that you are about to approach, and understanding that if you do get a campfire or you do have this opportunity over here, you got to think about it in a marketing standpoint and understand that you are just one of many. And how do you separate yourself, and how do you approach that, developing that relationship? And I want to go off the analogy that I used our last recording when we weren't able to post it, which is college coaches are. I fly fish every September in Wyoming. I love fly fishing. It's one of my favorite things to do, kind of like literally detach from the world. But what you notice is that trout, how you fish the streams, the trout hide behind rocks and they wait for food to come downstream. So basically, as a fly fisherman, I cast my line the out in front and then let it travel down near the rocks where that trout is hiding, and then he's going to strike and then go back to the rock, because if he just keeps swimming in that stream, he's going to get totally tired and it's going to be a loss of energy and he's going to end up dying, right? So he tries to conserve that energy. Think about that those are college coaches. The college coaches are trout that are trying to find what is the least path of resistance and getting the big food, the big buck that's going to get that program to a college World Series or to a conference championship or to a 40-win season. That's what they're looking for. So if you're able to separate yourself and you look pretty sexy, you're gonna get noticed by that college coach. And again, it goes back to your point, Josh, which is you just got to keep responding to them and giving them video, because that's the only way that they're going to be able to evaluate right now.
Yep.
Scenario number 5. A Power 5 D1 coach has seen me twice and hasn't offered. He says he likes me, but he hasn't pulled the trigger on the offer. I'm worried he won't, and I have a mid-major D1 school who's pursuing me to make a decision. My coach is telling me that the Power 5 coach needs to see more. What's the issue? Is there something I'm doing wrong? Should I take the mid-major deal? I'm afraid if I wait, I won't get a scholarship. So guys, substitute Division Division 1 with Division 2 and Division 2 with Division 3. Like this scenario happens all the time. Just think about the levels differently. So you have a Power 5 that's the highest level, and you have a mid-major. So it could be a mid-major and a Division 2. So how would you handle that, Josh? Go ahead and take us through that.
So first you got to evaluate it from your grad year. If you're a 2024 or 2023, a freshman or a sophomore, or younger than that, and you're already being pursued by a Power 5 school or have interest, then you have to look at it from a perspective of, I probably don't need to commit yet, but evaluate the schools and your talent should play out. You should get some more offers. So you should be fine in that respect. But as a 2022 or a 2021, when you're getting towards the end of your senior year, the end of your junior year, you really got to start to think about your values. And we go over a value list a lot. And a couple of the main things are, okay, yeah, you're getting recruited by a Power 5 and a mid-major. What's more important to you? If that Power 5 hasn't offered you yet, what do you think your chances of you playing there are? How much do you think you're going to continue to grow and get better? If you think as a junior that you're going to get to a point where that Power 5 school offers you, then maybe play it a little slow. But if you're concerned about playing time and you want to go get the most playing time you can get, then that mid-major may be the school for you, and you need to get the name out of your head. You can't be thinking LSU, Florida, Miami, I want to rep that logo on my chest. Because at the end of things, it's about your education and it's about getting to play in college. And if you don't get to play, it's no fun. It's not at all. So you got to figure out, where are you going to play? And that may be the mid-major school. So that may be the best option for you. I think we talked about last time, Old Dominion, Justin Verlander went there, Maplewood College, Albert Pujols.
And that's a junior college, so everyone know that Albert Pujols was junior college. Bryce Harper went to what, Southern Nevada? Yep. So there's a number of players that have gone that lower, I guess you can call it lower tier route, and they were still able to make that big move. I mean, there's been a number of Division 2 players, so don't think like the dream's dead if you go to like, oh, I'm going to junior college or I'm going to Division 2, unless you're so concerned about dinner parties and what you say at dinner parties, then maybe that is a factor that you need to consider.
The best pitcher in baseball right now went to a mid-major. Jacob deGrom went to Stetson, and Corey Kluber. So, like I said, it's more about, where are you going to play? Because if you go to a school that you're not going to get reps at, how are you going to get seen and get drafted? If you go to a school that is a mid-major or a lower level and you dominate your competition, there's no way you don't get noticed. So go to whatever school you're going to get playing time, perform at the highest level, and you're going to have other opportunities.
Yeah, it's reaching that pinnacle to where you reached so much that you get the playing time, not that you're sitting. And then once you get there and you know that you have a really clear shot of getting playing time, then we can start really thinking about putting the pedal to the metal and putting the gas on and trying to see how, hey, let's dominate this thing. Let's see if I can be a conference player. Let's see if I can really shake the atmosphere in the college game.
Exactly.
Recruiting things that are working right now, the things that are working really well in the recruiting game. I'm very fascinated on tips and tricks and strategies that are working for who you're like stuff that you're recommending, because again, I think that these things change constantly. They're not staying like this, like, oh, this is the thing that works. I think it constantly changes. Obviously, we saw that huge shift in Twitter this past year with COVID, and that was literally everything was happening on Twitter. What are you noticing right now in January 2021 that is working for your guys right now?
Well, you hit it on the head right there. Is everything is social media right now. Everything is internet based. And we talked about sending out emails to schools, sending out video to them. If you don't send out video to them, there's no way they're going to see it because they can't travel right now. Budgets have been cut. Time is scarce, tough to travel. So unless you're providing the video for them, there's not a good chance that they're going to be able to get out and see you. So you mentioned Twitter. Yeah, Twitter, Instagram, even emails. You need to put video of yourself up. And you also need to be aware that it can't be the same Twitter or Instagram that you have pictures of yourself going out and doing whatever with your friends. It has to be a baseball specific platform, a baseball specific Twitter or Instagram that you're posting only baseball related stuff because your image is being depicted on there. Whatever you put up there, a coach is going to look at and evaluate you from face value. They will judge a book by its cover because that's all they can do right now. All they can do is see something online. So being a presence on social media right now and reaching out to people on your own is the biggest thing that you can do right now.
5 years ago, I did Tiger TV. That's how I literally started this, which was I went around. This is a crazy idea. I literally got a point and shoot camera, like this little basic point and shoot camera. It's so sad that I'm talking about this right now, but I went out and I would go to these big colleges and be like, all right, I'm here to film you. And they'd be like, that's what you're shooting with? And it was an awkward situation, but they obliged, and we ended up going down this conversation of recruiting and everything like that. And I would always ask the social media question, and I'd get like an array of answers. It would be, yeah, it's important. It's somewhat. And then I'll have some guys that were like all in on it. But the thing that they always said was we always audit the social media accounts. Because again, I'm investing in somebody. I got to know what's the backstory of this. Is there any red flags that are going to betray? Now, I'm not saying to be that super defensive guy that says audit your whole thing, delete the whole thing, don't have a social media presence. It's the worst thing in the world. The only thing you can do is hurt you. I'm not that guy. I'm the guy that says, and I'd like your take on this. I'm the guy that says, let's be completely offensive on this. Let's try to create content. Let's get metrics. Let's go to third-party events and try to see if we can get those metrics better and get a testimonial from this guy and try to get your accounts pushed out there. And then also let's find where the coaches are so that you know where they are and you know that there's a possibility there. What's your thoughts on that?
So I would say control what you post. It doesn't necessarily have to be all baseball stuff. You know, coaches like that guys are versatile, they're multi-sport athletes, whatever it may be. Even if you're just going out and playing, I know this is a negative with baseball players, but if you're playing basketball, you can dunk a basketball, post it. Because all that shows is you have some extreme athleticism if you can dunk a basketball at 14 to 18 years old. Other videos, obviously you want to post stuff having fun, but make sure it's controlled. Don't have anything bad in the background. Don't be doing stupid stuff. Don't be tagged in videos with your friends that are posting foul language or anything like that. So don't take yourself off of social media. Maybe just create a separate account, but make sure you know what you're posting and just know when you post something, any college coach could see this. It doesn't mean that you can't post what you want. Just don't post anything stupid. Post pictures at school, post pictures with your family, post videos playing sports, things you enjoy, collections, whatever it may be. Don't post things being ignorant, you know, going and playing pranks on people or anything like that, because that will be seen some way or another.
Understand that, like Logan Paul, everyone likes Logan Paul and Jake Paul, right? Like, yeah, that's entertainment. They're doing that on purpose. They're not trying to get a scholarship. Understand that you're not Jake Paul or Logan Paul. Now, if that's something that you want to go down that route, all power to you. I'm just going to tell you right now that a college coach isn't going to touch you. He's not going to give you a scholarship to play at his university, and you're not going to get a degree there. I'm telling you that right now.
Not by throwing toilet paper rolls at people.
No, that's not going to happen. So understand that the the world of Jake and Logan Paul is completely different than your world that you've said, hey, I want to pursue a college scholarship. That is two totally different polar opposites. They cannot merge together. You cannot make it happen. It has not happened in this world yet. I doubt you're going to make that happen. Now, if you want to be like a Trevor Bauer or a Bregman who posts on social media, like that's some real high quality stuff because they are actually showing the real life behind the major league door, and they're doing it in a way that is not undermining their coaching staff or their players. Now they will speak up for the players because there are certain things that Trevor Bauer has said in years past and most recently in this past season that raise the question of like I'm raising my level of game up here and my thought process of where this thing needs to go. I want you to raise your level. That's the same thing with Fernando Tatis Jr. and Bryce Harper. They're trying to change the game. I think that's why they I'm going off a complete tangent here, but that Major League Baseball brought on Ken Griffey Jr. because they wanted to make sure that they're heading in the right route. And I think Griffey's that guy that's going to be able to mesh the young guys and the old guys and bring it together and give a pretty good product. What are the things that are hurting you would say that not hurting, but a waste of time for college or for recruits right now, guys that are trying to get into college? What is the big time waster?
People aren't going to like me for this, but I would say, honestly, the biggest time waster is probably showcases, events, anything like that. And not from a first level perspective. You definitely need perfect game showcases for values, for your metrics, for your fastball velo, your 60-yard dash, infield velocity, that type of stuff. You do need that. But you need to sit down and evaluate when you're doing that, how often you're doing that, and how much it's going to help you. You don't want to go as an eighth grader or a freshman before you're developing, I guess, and go to 2 or 3 perfect game events because your numbers are probably going to read pretty much the same. And at that point, you're just feeding them money. Now, if you go your freshman year to get some values, you want to know you're throwing a 75-mile-an-hour fastball, you hit the weight room for 6 months, yeah, that's the perfect time to go back out because you got stronger, your velo should be up, you should be a little quicker. So we do want to refresh those metrics, get new numbers up, but the people that go every couple months or every month to an event, there's no progress, and that's all people want to see. They want to see progress. They want to see you getting better. So take that money and invest in some type of help for college recruiting. Do something along that route to help you better yourself, market yourself, digital media. Have you go out and get video of them so they can see their progression over time. But don't get caught up in perfect game is going to get me a scholarship. Yeah, it's going to get the top 150 guys a scholarship for sure because a coach is going to go on there and see if they throw 91. But if you throw 81, it's going to be more about you getting in the weight room, spending that money on a gym membership, spending it on lessons, whatever it may be, something that's going to improve your game rather than just going to get metrics. And you need to understand that when you do go to a perfect game showcase, there's probably not going to be a ton of scouts out there depending on the time of year where you may be in a dead period. You're going out there to get an evaluation. You want to find out where you stack up against everybody else in the country. And so for that reason, it's a great tool, but don't go too much is what I would say.
It's knowing the tools in your toolbox.
Yep.
And what tool you should use at that specific time. It's like if a house is burning and I grab a matches, that's the wrong tool that I want to use to stop that fire. I've got to use a hose. I've got to use the water. Yeah. I can't just get some matches and just like, all right, this is going to stop the fire. That's not going to work. And showcases, tournaments, those are tools. Those are things that are going to help you to get to the spot that you're going to get to. It's like, I'm not going to buy a software system just because like this guy used it and he got to the thing that he needed to get to. Well, it might not be it might not be the tool for me. It might not be that thing that I need to use. But I like that thought that you said about perfect game in the top 100 and the top 150 is that, yeah, you're definitely going to get recruited if you're the top 100 players. And that's why they did the showcase. Now, are those dudes going back and doing perfect game every month? Probably not, but they're going to go back and try to get their stock up even higher because that's going to affect them in the draft. So
Exactly.
just have a cadence. Kind of think about it as those guys are there for my testimonial so that college coaches know that I'm not messing up with my numbers and giving them false data. I'm not giving them fake numbers. I'm giving them hard data. Perfect game gave me this metric. PBR gave me this metric. I played this type of schedule because college coaches know that, hey, you played in that tournament, that's good competition. Okay, I'll make sure that I go to that event, and I have 3 other guys that I'm looking at. I'll add you to the list.
Exactly. Just evaluate your level of game. If you're a lower level player, there's nothing wrong with that, but understand that your strides are going to be made in the weight room and with lessons and stuff like that. And if you're a top
Priority
level,
list.
showcase your talents if you're a top level player. But evaluate your level and understand what I need to do at my level to get better and to get on that radar.
Dude, it's a priority list. You gotta nail down your priority list. You can't start marketing if you don't have a product.
Exactly.
Got to make sure that you have the skills. You got to have the strength, because if you don't have that, they ain't gonna see you. They ain't gonna talk to you.
Exactly.
Last topic I want to go down. We've talked a little bit about the national team, and I want to get your take. I got Cody's take on it. What was your initial thought process going down to Fort Myers? And then I also want to know what your thought process was when you were flying back to Vegas.
So going down there, I was stoked because Cody was taking the head reins, and that meant that I got to go down for 1 weekend of my life and kind of relax. Although that didn't really happen, but kind of take a back seat and not be pressured to make every decision. I only had to write one lineup card, which was nice. But just approach it from a backseat perspective and kind of see what everybody has, see what I could do for these kids. I thought it was awesome. I hadn't been to a tournament in Florida ever in my life. And I had always wanted to. I've been down to Florida just not to play. And the competition that we got to see down there was insane. We saw the number 2 and 4 right-handers in Florida. They both topped out at 87 that PG just posted on their velo charts. So we faced those 2 guys. We faced another kid 82 to 85. I mean, especially for my 2 kids that we brought down there, and obviously for the other 13 kids that were out there, that was amazing. Whether you succeed or fail, you got to see the best competition in the country, and we competed the whole weekend. Obviously, things didn't turn out how we wanted to. We didn't get a couple timely hits, but man, it was awesome to see how well we competed, the fire that we ended up gaining throughout the rest of the weekend. And I mean, after game 1, which was a lot of nerves, we knew that coming in. I tried to loosen everybody up a little bit, but you could tell guys were nervous. After game 1, you take that out, we finished the weekend 2-1 after that. And so that made it really fun to see the guys kind of come together, get a little more comfortable, and obviously play against some great teams and see where they stack up. And then
go
ahead.
I told the boys, I don't know if you remember this conversation, but after we faced for Call's team, which was the first game, and we saw those pitchers, I told them that was probably one of the best teams that I've ever seen besides you guys. And I truly meant that. And I was really interested to see how the rest of the tournament would play out. And it ended up that we got 6 guys to be on the all-tournament team. That's pretty good for a team that didn't make it into bracket play.
Yeah.
And the teams that were in our pool, the death pool, I mean, it would have been nice if we would have spread that out and then we met them in the bracket play. But again, I'm glad that we saw that early because we probably wouldn't have saw those pictures if we didn't see them in the beginning. We probably would have got the fifth or sixth guy because you know how tournaments run and all of that. So I do think that's a huge testament to those guys.
And I told some of my parents and the guys that I brought down as well, because I got to talk to them the last couple of weeks. Yeah, it sucks when you go down there and, I've been unfortunate. It sucks for me that my teams always end up playing some of the best teams in bracket play. Whatever team I go down with, whatever team I coach, unfortunately, we get stacked up against the best competition in bracket play. And you always want to win a tournament. You always want to come home with a ring. But at the same time, to your point, we wouldn't have faced those two pitchers that we faced, Hod and Ravidi, if we weren't in that situation. And we're going down there to win, but we're also going down there to get better, to improve, to learn. And a couple of our guys got to see 87 twice. Like, when else are you going to get to see that at 15U? Because the guys that we face in Vegas are maybe topping out at 83, 84, and they're good. We don't get to see 87. I'm sure you guys don't really get to see 87. So when you get to go out against that and try to compete, it shows you a new level of baseball, and it makes the current level a little easier. And you get now the next time you go up against someone throwing 85, 86, 87, you're prepared for it. It's not the first time anymore. So next time we do the national team and we do face some guys throwing 86, 87, we're going to be ready because we've seen that already. And up until that point, none of these kids have seen that before.
Without a doubt. Well, we're heading to the very end of this. So I want to close this session out. I want your closing remarks on the conversation. It could be about the human nature aspect of things. It could be about the national team, or it could be about recruiting. What are your closing remarks on this video?
I would say, the most important thing that we talked about was probably the recruiting side. You guys have to be active. You guys have to be active. Understand that, coaches are being put in tough situations right now with 2020s getting an extra year at schools and scholarships. I think they added a couple this year, but it's tough to get noticed. It's tough to get scholarships. And unless you're doing your active part, you're not going to get seen. So make sure anybody on here that wants to play college baseball, you have to be active in that pursuit. You have to get videos of yourselves. You have to start that Twitter, Instagram account, and you got to start working now. Get your name out there. Make sure people know who you are, because they're not going to come find you right now. So start sending out videos. Let them know who you are. Let them know you want to play for them, and see what you can get back, and communicate as much as possible on social media.
Josh, this has been an awesome conversation. Thank you for understanding my technical difficulties and coming back on and having it wasn't really a duplicate conversation. There was a lot of different points that we made. There was a lot of different conversation styles that we went down, which was I think was awesome. So I think that this one was probably the best one out of the two. So if people are wondering like, oh, you didn't send the best one out. No, I definitely, I think this was way better. So Josh, I want to have you back on at some point. But again, thank you so much, and best of luck with your group in Las Vegas.
Thank you. I'd love to come back on, and this was actually really fun. I was not as nervous this time, and it's freaking great. I loved it.
All right, see ya.
See ya.